I think it's still work in progress. So real wage growth has been negative, unfortunately. However, there's been a nationwide effort to keep increasing base salaries. So hopefully, real wage growth will turn positive within the near future. But I think inflation is going to be a game changer for the Japanese economy. People will likely spend money now rather than later. So it's a psychological mindset shift.
Can you say, with all of the guests over the year, with a major shout out to Robert Feldman at Morgan Stanley, who really gave the leadership on this, to all of our guests, can you finally say Japan has won the disinflation battle, that some form of inflation now is embedded in the system?
I think so. So right now, there's no demand weakness issue for the Japanese economy. It's the supply constraints. And that's stemming from labor shortages, which is pretty structural. So I think the inflation is here to stay. And in fact, the CPI has been trending faster than the US, which is kind of interesting phenomenon.
Masa, Japan has elected its first ever female prime minister. She's viewed as an advocate for proactive fiscal policy, dovish on monetary policy. What are the markets discounting? What are the markets expecting from this new prime minister here?
So obviously, the first few weeks since her inauguration, the market reacted positively. However, over the long term, the market implication is still unknown. Because of the current state of the economy, whether Takaichi's agenda is conducive to the current economic conditions, I think the jury is still out. But there are other things to be excited about. Takaichi wants to strengthen the domestic capabilities for key industries like semiconductor, AI, space programming, and so on. So there's negatives and positives.
So when I started on Wall Street in the mid-'80s, Tokyo was the bomb. You had to go there. You had to have experience in Tokyo. And then for a generation, not so much. Now, I'm hearing more about Japan in the last couple of years than I did in the prior 20 years. Warren Buffett calling out Japan as an opportunity. One of the areas that people are saying is attractive is corporate governance reform. What does corporate governance reform in Japan mean? What's going on there?
Yeah, so it's essentially about encouraging companies to be more capital efficient. So things like ROE, ROIC, it's an area that hasn't received much attention in the past due to cultural reasons. But the idea is, the government taking the initiatives, the stock exchange and so on, try to, lead these companies to embrace the basic principles of Western capitalism. And that way, we can sustainably increase the share prices of listed companies, and that should increase the appeal of the market to global investors.
Bloomberg surveillance this morning around the world. Thank you for your attention to our new digital media, YouTube. Subscribe to Bloomberg Podcast. That's the best way to get Lisa Mateo, Michael Barr, and Paul Sweeney across this nation. Good morning, 99.1 FM in Washington, 92.9 FM. Friday Night Football in Boston, I should point out.
Sure.
Harvard, Columbia.
Yep.
Look for that out at 92.9 FM. We are with Masa Takeda. He's with Hennessy Japan Fund. Paul mentions Warren Buffett. The bottom line is the knowledge that America has about equities is wrapped around Toyota, Sony, Mitsubishi, SoftBank, which you have a very large holding on. Am I pronouncing this correctly? The Keiretsu? Mm-hmm. Are they still dominant? Is that from pre-war, the 5 big companies, the 6 big companies, is that still the best way to play Japan?
No, not at all. In fact, the notorious Keiretsu system has been largely unwound already, and also the cross-shareholding practices also have been diminished. Correct.
Folks, I'm going to interrupt here, folks. I can't say enough how the great Martin Feldstein of Harvard told me years ago this was the number one issue to get to a modern Japan. So it's been unwound. Continue with that as an example, Mitsubishi.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the Mitsubishi call here? What's the play here? How do you look at it?
So Mitsubishi Corporation, I assume talking about the trading company. So Mitsubishi Corporation is an investment company essentially. So its balance sheet represents an interesting portfolio of operating assets and investment securities from all around the world. And so, they have extensive network of their employees all over the world, and they've been compounding their book value per share at high single digits to 10%, which is essentially they're running ROE of 10% as a business. Nevertheless, the shares have been valued as value stock. So price to book less than 1 times for a long, long time, and price to earnings less than 10 times. So there was a huge value gap, and I think Mr. Buffett saw that value gap clearly.
How is that?
In 2020.
Is it culturally? How is that value gap going to close? How are we going to get Mitsubishi to act like the growth stock Warren Buffett knows it is?
So obviously, capital allocation had been substandard up until 2020, but with Warren Buffett's stamp of approval, I think all trading companies have embraced the importance of capital allocation, be it shareholder return policy, investment discipline. And I think that has changed the perception of this entire sector.
Interesting. I can't let you go without talking about Sony. I banked that company for years, never got paid. Didn't write one ticket on Sony after like 10 years of covering it. My daughter works for Sony Music. Talk to us about Sony, because that is a fascinating company. Everybody here in the U.S. knows Sony, the products, but I don't think we really know the company that well. How do you view Sony?
Yeah, so Sony used to be known as kind of a low-margin hardware manufacturing company, but it has transformed into entertainment-focused conglomerate. And with the recent spin-off of Sony Financial Group, it actually solidified its position as a pure entertainment play. So we have the PlayStation franchise business, where the PlayStation 5 is thriving, and then the PlayStation 6 is expected to come out within the next few years. Music business, it's one of the 3 largest record labels. And then we have animation business emerging